All right, good evening, folks. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order, and if you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Tony Stewart,
Present.
Alderman Osteen,
Here.
Chad Carlson,
Here?
Bill McKay,
Here.
Chad Cowles,
Here.
Mayor Harbison,
Here.
Zachary Lynn.
No, Susan.
Huh? Susan Everett.
We don't usually do the full list.
Yeah. Bill Morgan, Alan Blair, Angie Schuster.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, we do have a quorum barely, so let's go ahead and, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the March 12th, 2024 meeting? If not, do we have any questions or comments? And if not, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
All right, thank you. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meetings have been approved. Next, we have a motion to elect the president on the planning commission. Do I have a motion to elect a president?
Yes. I would like to nominate Susan Ebling as president of Planning and Zoning Commission.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Are there any other motions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Because of my understanding, we would need to have a unanimous tonight, right? Yes. Okay. All right, next we have a motion to elect the secretary to the planning commission. And Carrie, how long and who is our current?
Andrew Schuster.
Well, they are yearly, and the current is Angie Schuster, who is not here tonight. But it is every year we will do this in our June meeting.
And she's done this for how long, though, do you know?
She has done one full term. This would be a second term.
Very good. All right. Do I have any motions to elect a secretary?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I would like to nominate Angie Schuster for secretary of the Board of Planning and Zoning.
Very good. Do I have a second? Aye. All right, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, congratulations to both of them.
That's what they get for not being here, right?
Glad I came.
All right, so next we have a motion to recommend to the Board of Aldermen approval of the design guidelines. And I think at this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to the Assistant City Administrator, Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission members. Most of these changes are just cleanup. It has been many, many years since all 6 chapters of our design guidelines have been looked at comprehensively. So there's a lot of what we did is just about making them more cohesive, updating titles as we have changed in our organization, updating the recommended materials. As the last time we looked at materials, it was probably close to 15 to 20 years ago. So just updating the materials that we use. We've also we're also going to be making some changes to control who's authorized to make taps on our system. In the past, we've had situations where just anybody can tap it, and we want to have a little bit more control over that, because sometimes if you don't know what you're doing, it kind of can kind of go lopsided for us. And then being more efficient with single-use sewer stations where we can. If we have a new neighborhood come in and they've got 8 homes, rather than put 8 grinders in, you put 1 in. That'll serve them all, because that helps us with efficiency on our end. We did have a community forum at the board level with this, where we talked to the board, we talked to citizens, contractors, and board members, and got a lot of feedback from them. A lot of those changes are included. The changes that we felt were relevant were included and updated in the design guidelines that you see. It is daunting. We were talking about how big the packet is. But this is the guidelines that our contractors in our city use to ensure that they are providing, the right direction on what needs to be done when they construct these things. So the last several pages, Alderman Osteen had asked that I put together a list of everything that we are deleting and why. So the last 3 pages, you'll see a list of everything that is being deleted, and then a reason as to why it's being deleted. In a lot of different cases, it's just it's redundant. It's already said somewhere else there. So again, this is a very comprehensive look at this. We even, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but previously a lot of the detail plates were hand-drawn. And so you can see that they're very professionally done now, making it much easier for contractors to be able to tell exactly what we're trying to explain to them. That's about all I have. I'm going to turn it over to Eric with Cochrane, and he's just going to give you a few of the high-end highlights related to the changes that we are making that relate to engineering and those kind of things. And then after that, whether it's me or Zach, our operations manager, or Eric, will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So.
Okay, so just want to start with the water section here. We have changed the minimum water main size, basically removed the allowance for 2 and 4 inch on the city system and put it in line with DNR and have the minimum allowable be 6-inch diameter. Kind of as Mike alluded to, all wet taps on water and sewer, no matter the size, are to be made by a city-approved contractor and witnessed by the city. For the sewer section, we have changed due to some issues with getting grinder stations and parts for a while. We have made it to where the city is going to be supplying the grinder stations, and then contractors will purchase them from the city. What this is intended to do is ensure that the city has uniform parts, pumps, and control panels across the city. So when they go, no matter the time they have, or they get the call, they'll be able to know what parts they're going to be needing. Next big one we did was remove the city's average daily flow as well as their population equivalent tables. Some of these were a little out of date, and we put them in line with DNR. So anytime DNR will update those tables, the city's guidelines will change along with DNR. And the last major one I had is in storm drainage. Under the silt fence section, where wired back silt fence with TLC posts should be placed around the downhill edges of all disturbed area. We added in there or an improved equal, and that was intended to allow for discretion on smaller sized projects or smaller sized drainage areas, and not need the strict requirements of wired back silt fence with TLC post. That is all I had.
So we've kind of reviewed the highlights there. We've talked about, everything that we've removed. Talked a little bit about some of the other summary things that we have. Highlighted a lot of the process and field changes. We have nothing more to say. We're happy to answer any questions you have. We do recommend approval.
Mayor, I will say this. It is worth noting that last year, as the beginning of doing these changes and amendments to the design guidelines, we did all of the work on the parking lot portion of the code. You may remember when we did that. And then prior to this, we also did quite a bit of drainage stuff. But this is actually the finalization of amending and updating the design guideline document that both our city and our guys use and the developers that come into the community. So I just wanted to remind you that we've already addressed a couple of legs of this, and then this will be the finish of that.
All right. And Mike, correct me if I'm wrong here too, just so the board knows, my remembering of this was the board took a serious action on this about a year or so ago because they wanted to be more strict. And then some of the things we came up with, we found out, took some of the latitude away from the city to use their own discretion. And things, for example, they'd say that the silt back fence with metal would have to be in there. And then if somebody provided something else that was even better, it was not up to code, even though it was better. And so that's why we had the forum. We heard from developers, and we're trying to find that happy medium where we protect erosion, protect the lake, but then also offer some latitude to the city.
That's one part of it. That's just that one chapter that includes the erosion control. The water and sewer stuff, between me and Eric and the Public Works team, we've been working on these changes for a couple of different years as we've dealt with some staff changing that's kind of set us back here and there. But this is basically the most comprehensive review. As Carrie said, a few of these sections have been before you guys in the past, but not the whole thing like this. So we put a lot of work in on this. Chad, some of this goes back to when you and I had talked about these changes.
I was gonna ask one question about the water, but
I'll give you that chance, but yes, sir, that is included in here and much more.
Right, very good. Comments and questions from the board? Chad?
I have one.
Welcome.
The water department doing their own taps, is that an option? Are they doing that as well? That would be best case scenario, up to like a 2-inch, and anything past that, have a contractor do it. But it's super important that it's done right and it's done well, and having your own people do it. I mean, I have fought for that for years. I'd like to see that happen.
Chad, we had that in there, and then when we went to the board for review, they did not want to put the burden of just having city staff on it. So what they asked us to do was just manage the process. So now we can control. No one can tap the main unless we say they can. It could be our guys if we need it to be, but it could also be a contractor that we have approved. So a little bit more leeway than what we wanted, but that's what the board had directed us to do, was to not put that burden solely on the departments and kind of share the burden if we could. So moving in that direction, but maybe not all the way.
And having an employee there to do measurements, I mean, there are things that are important on that tap that are beyond just tapping. You know, it's good to know where it is when it gets buried and there's a leak, and you say, well, there's a tap here because it's in the computer, you know. I mean, to know that kind of stuff, it was always painful for me that things weren't getting done, that we didn't know where they were, you know.
Yes, sir, I totally agree. Any other questions?
Anybody else?
I have one. You mentioned DNR was referenced a couple of times. Are there any other state agencies that have jurisdiction over these issues?
Over water and sewer, no.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
I've got a comment,
Yes, sir.
and this is just for my fellow board members. This was 300 pages of watching paint dry. We spent hours and hours going over these revisions, and shockingly, I was one of the most vocal people regarding this, even though I thought I didn't know that much about it. But I always thought, and you'll see this through your packet, if we were revising certain ordinances and statutes, I thought it was smart to include in the packet on our reasonings why, which is what Mr. Welty alluded to, was at the very last 7 pages are, here's what we changed and here's why. Here's what we deleted and here's why. Therefore, from the public standpoint, it wasn't just arbitrarily we're making these changes. We basically supported why we were instigating and changing things. So, but anyway, that's all I got to say.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Come on, gentlemen.
Motion to approve?
All right, Chad, thank you.
Yep.
Do I have a second? Come on, Tony.
Sure.
All right, Tony seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion's approved. Before we adjourn, is there anything else anybody want to say? I want to welcome Tony and Chad. Talk to you a little bit afterwards, but anybody have anything else they would like to say?
Mayor, our intention is to bring this to the board for first reading on the first meeting in July.
Very good.
And then the second reading on the second meeting in July.
Very good. All right, thank you very much for all your work. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion. Chad, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Chad. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you, folks.
I would say you jerks made the new guys do the votes, but you're all new guys.
Thank you, Kerry.
Got all the tenure now. Other than Susan.
We had your address, that was apparently.
I was like, come on, boys, step up. Make motions.
You guys
Approve things.
right?